welcome. It's March. We're celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and we're going to be working with some green flowers. We're going to be working with some different things. I have some cabbage. We have some different leaves, so we're going to make it fun. It's almost daylight savings time, so we're going to be, the days are getting longer, so it's going to be getting much better. So to begin with, what I've done is I've taken a box. There's a liner in there so that the foam won't seep through the wood. And just to make it fun, because we're celebrating St. Patrick's Day and it's green, it has corned beef and cabbage, I just thought while I was grocery shopping, and I always look at the greens and the vegetables and the fruits and stuff and see what I can use for my designs, I just thought it'd just be kind of fun to use the cabbage as a focal point in the arrangement. So what I did before we started, just because I didn't know how this was going to work, I just cut out a middle of the cabbage and then just put a little piece of oasis in there. So we're going to put something in there. Don't quite know yet. We have some leaves, I have some green flowers, some greens, and we're going to see how it comes out. You can use this for a buffet, a centerpiece, you know, just something fun. You can use little Brussels sprouts if you want. There's lots of things you can do to make it fun. So, you know, as we're staying inside waiting for the vaccines, you know, there's always something to do. Afterwards, we have some plants that I'm going to talk about, some things that you can take care of in your house. So there's a lot of things you can do while we're staying home. So, again, the oasis is wet. There's a liner. It's in a box. We have our cabbage. We have our greens. So what we're going to do, probably start with some line type arrangements. This is myrtle. We call this a line material. It's not really flowers, but it's greens, but because it's straight, and also has a nice little fragrance to it too. So what I do is I take the bottom leaves off, and we're just going to start our arrangement. I think what I'm going to do is kind of a just a Western style arrangement, a Western triangle arrangement, and just make it a little bit more contemporary and just have a little bit of fun with it. So I'm making my lines with the myrtle. Again, I take the greens off the end, so it's not going into the foam. So the leaves aren't going into the foam, because that causes bacteria. And so what I've done as I'm starting to make my arrangement is I'm starting to make my triangle. And again, like I said, this is a very typical arrangement. But again, here's your triangle. That's our focal point. So I just kind of changed it up with using the cabbage as far as that goes. And we're going to leave the myrtle there because we may want to add a little bit more in and kind of use it like baby's breath. The greens, you know, sometimes when you're using greens, you know, look for the greens that have a little bit of different variation on it. So give you a little bit of different color and a little bit of texture to your arrangement. I'm going to happen to roll these. I don't have much leather fern that we use in class, so I'm using some different greens as I'm waiting for my shipment to come in. So we're just going to kind of roll it and just have some fun with it. And what I do is I cut like right in the middle and then put the stem right through it so it rolls. And you can do different things. There's a lot of different leaf techniques that you can do. I use that an awful lot. And again, if you want to change the size of the leaf a little bit, you can always cut it. And I'm going to use this out to the side as far as my triangle. And again, as I'm cutting, I use a knife. I want a nice sharp point on that so it goes in nicely. So there we have the start of the arrangement. We have our myrtle, we have our Thai leaves. I kind of chose those because it had a little bit of purple to it to give it a little bit of color to the arrangement, because it's going to be basically greens and whites for St. Patrick's Day. And again, you know, it's a big corned beef and cabbage day, so have some fun with it. And if you're doing something with the, you know, the fruits and the vegetables and stuff, it really can't be done a long time before. So, you know, a day or two, you can't like make it a week before, because then it would start to rot. So these are done, even if you're going to use pumpkins in the fall or something, you're going to make a pumpkin arrangement for Halloween, those need to be done a day ahead of time. You really can't do them a week before, because you really won't have anything. So again, what I'm going to do, these are called Bells of Ireland. These are another line flower. I'm going to use the, and again, when you have something tall, you should use it tall. You shouldn't cut it down to a couple of inches. And what I'm going to do is use it to reinforce the line of the myrtle. And I'm going to kind of group them together. And I'm going to make sure they're not the same height. All right. And then I'm going to turn it just a little bit. So again, I'll turn this for you. Now we have our bells, we have the myrtle, and we have our leaves, and we have our cabbage. What's nice is there's a lot of flowers that have come out that have been naturally green. This happens to be a green rose. It does turn a little bit yellow as it gets older, but this is a natural green rose. It's more of a lime green. We're going to use that. I think we're going to use these in the middle of our cabbage, because to me they kind of look like cabbage. You know, they might even be called a cabbage rose. So I'm going to use these in the center of the cabbage for our focal point. So, and I think that looks kind of cool, kind of like it. So there's our cabbage with our roses, and we may use a few more, but we're just kind of playing with it for now and seeing how it comes out. So and of course, it wouldn't be St. Patrick's Day without green carnations. These aren't natural, these have been sprayed green. As you can see, they're a little bit different green than the natural little green roses. We're going to use these in our triangle. And again, if the carnations aren't open, and actually, so you can see me, I think I'm going to turn this down a little bit so it's a little bit lower, so the flowers aren't quite in my face, so you can see. So, and I'll use that afterwards when I go to show you. So what I'm doing is a basic Western line type of arrangement. You'll see these a lot for functions. This is a style that we use a lot for churches or places of worship. Just kind of fanned out, but this one's gonna be a little bit more of a triangle type size. I sprayed these this morning. These are sprayed with Design Master paint. It's paint 4. Flowers. It isn't the spray paint that you buy from the Home Depot or something like that. Those will actually kill the flowers, so just be careful of the type of paint you're going to use. And again, you want to put these in varying heights. We don't want all these green carnations the same height. And we do want some off to the side. Here. We will be getting ready to start composting again once the landfills start opening up. So We try to recycle as much as we can. And I do remind you, when you are able to get out, we do take back 5 clean vases and give you a free bouquet. So if you start spring cleaning and want to get rid of some vases, you don't have to come in the store. You can just call me and we can leave the bouquet outside for you. So just let me know about that. And don't worry about what the vase is, because if it's something we can't use, we just take it and put it in a box and bring it to Savers. So don't worry about that. So I'm going to bring back our little thing so you can see. So you can see that that's the, you know, start of our arrangement. We still have some things to do. There's some foam that we need to cover, so we need to be working and doing those types of things. So I will be adding some white. I don't know if I'm going to use the white daisies or the cushion palms. I do like the white daisies because they have a green center, so I'm probably going to use those. And I'm not going to use the buds. You can use them if you want, or take them and put them in a vase. But lots of times when you send those out in arrangements, people think they're dead, so I just throw them out. Rather than getting a phone call saying I sent out dead flowers. So I just learned over the years. So we're going to fill in those spaces now that we have our triangle. And as I'm working with these daisies, I'm following the lines like this. So we're not going, so that's the reason why I'm putting the daisy there and say out there. So it's kind of the reasoning of it. Sometimes I do things by habit and I don't really know why, but when you go back and read the design books, that's the reason why. So we're just like the daisies we use in class. What I'm doing is I'm just using these as a filler. I'm putting them in between our carnations. And you know, when you're using this too, you're making sure they go into the foam. Make sure it goes in about an inch, because the daisies do drink water out of the oasis. So I think we need a few more daisies in the back. I don't like that one. We need some tall daisies up top. Again, I'm cutting on an angle. I don't like the way that one sticks out. And we're going to add a few flowers to the back. So if this sits on a buffet or something, or if it's in front of a mirror, it looks finished in the back too. That's some of the things that you need to watch out as far as the arrangements go. So So here we are. I need to get one of those Lazy Susans. We still have our triangle, we have our daisies, but we still have some work to do because the foam isn't covered. So we're working with the green foam, whoops, and we need to cover it up. So what we're gonna do is, I have some of these shorter pieces of the myrtle. I'm going to use them in the bottom to start covering the oasis. It also gives it a little bit different interest to it. Use the small, short pieces. You may need to use a little bit of the clippers on these. They are a little bit woody stem. We also have some Italian ruscus that we're going to use. It's going to give a little bit different texture to it. We use these an awful lot in our floral design. They're long lasting and they're nice. They'll give you the feeling of ivy, and they last longer than the English ivy. So what I'm doing, I'm making sure, you know, and this is called covering your mechanics, is that you don't see the foam. We're mixing the Italian ruscus and the myrtle as our cover base. We're probably going to use a few more of those other green leaves because I can see some spaces where we need them. And just, you know, having some fun with it. I think as we stay inside, you need to have some things to do that keep you occupied while we're waiting to get vaccinated and everything comes through on what we can and can't do. So we're just, you know, and if you can do a few things with the flowers, it's starting to get lighter. Our gardens will starting to be coming along. It's a little too early to work in the garden yet. The snow hasn't melted, and you don't want to start uncovering right now because there's a lot of great bees and insects and types of things that are overwintering, so we don't want to disturb them yet. So it's a little too early to start gardening. So, you know, you can still do all your indoor gardening and have a few flowers in your kitchen. I know I do. I enjoy having flowers and plants in my kitchen as I'm doing a little bit of cooking. So, trying to finish up here. And we're adding our greens to cover the foam. And I don't want to cover the cabbage too much because we want to see the cabbage. So I'm going to just move the greens away from the cabbage so we can still see it. And maybe if we could gotten a cabbage and let it out for a couple of days and we were able to move the leaves a little bit better, that might have been better as far as using that in the center so people happen to see what it is. You know, and lots of times when you're flower arranging is, you know, when you're doing it for yourself and doing some things, a little bit, you know, trial and error. Does that work? If it doesn't work, try something else. You know, especially if you're doing these things for yourself and you don't have to worry about consumers, whether they're going to like them or not. This is called steel grass. This isn't grass that you pick outside. This is kind of great because it bends. And again, you know, once you're done with some of the main things, you can do some things to add a little bit of your signature. These are wired picks. These are great things to use and you have in your toolbox. They come in different sizes. This is 6-inch. There's 4-inch, and then there's some little ones. So highly recommend it for your toolbox. I know me, I'm always looking for new things for my toolbox. You can see I have 2 toolboxes now, so I enjoy that. And I enjoy going to different stores looking for different things. I'm always on the lookout, so I'm never really on vacation. So what I'm doing is we're almost done, and when you're almost done with the arrangement, that's when you can decide what are some of the things, what are the different techniques that you can use to make it a little bit different and just add a little bit of creativity to your arrangements. You know, what can you do? You know, can you do that? Can you pick some of the things from your garden once it starts, or, you know, in the winter, can you pick some of the branches and use some of that and just, you know, have fun with it. Just see what you can do. Make sure, you know, you've conditioned the flowers. Make sure you add water so things last long. In the summertime, when you're picking your flowers, it's best to pick in the morning or the evening. And then make sure, if you're going to use them in arrangements, that you condition them a little bit before you actually use them in your arrangements. So give them some time to soak up some water on that. So this is what I was talking about with the steel grass. So what we did is we just made a circle around the cabbage, you know, just kind of focal it in. Just, you know, having fun, something different. We do need a few more leaves here, so I'm going to add a few of these leaves in the back. I'm going to roll them like we were doing. That might be a little bit too much. And I'm going to put them on the sides here. I think I have 3. I'm going to cut it in the middle again and just roll it. And you can do these if you have a peace lily. You can use these with peace lily foliage. That works too. I'm going to use one of these in front and see how that works. And like I said, I don't want to cover the cabbage, so we want to leave that open. Just to kind of tie it in. I'm going to bring one of the leaves to the front. So I think don't have much else. You know, I have one more carnation. Let's use that up. And like I said, green carnations are the St. Patrick's Day flower. But I mean, have fun. You know, it's, you know, a green day, whether you're going to have corned beef and cabbage or, you know, a green beer or something. Just, you know, while you're home, do something to celebrate the day, the week. So this is my finished piece. I just gathered up some of our green flowers and green foliage. And like I said, I bought the cabbage while I was grocery shopping, and we just had some fun with it. So I encourage you to try some things, have some fun. We're going to be back in a minute. We're going to be talking about some of our plants now, and I wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day. All right, so we're back. We took a little break. That's the flower arrangement. You know, and the other stuff that you can do while you're home is, you know, have some fun with the plants. There's a lot of plants around and a lot of different things. So you don't have to just have a few boring type things. So what I want to show you, this is a succulent garden. I just bought this the other day. And what I like, you know, when you're choosing the succulents, make sure you find ones that aren't broken. That's what when I'm always looking for succulents, that's what I'm looking for. Is that they're perfect. And there's a lot of different succulents in here, the different colors, and that's when you arrange them. You know, it's kind of like doing a flower arrangement. You want to have a little pattern, you want to mix up the colors. This does not need a lot of water, so you know, maybe you're going to be like once every 3 days, or not every 3 days, every 3 weeks type of thing. Keep this on the dry side. And when you go to water, just don't water in one spot. You need to water all the way around because the water isn't moving. So, you know, make sure each one of your plants gets a little water. But the succulent gardens now are extremely popular, but they don't need as much water as, say, something like this, which is a dish garden that has our regular foliage plants in it. So, you know, you do need, when you do have your plants, each plant needs a different amount of water. So just don't think it's like Wednesday and Wednesday I water. So that's one of the things that I want to caution as far as, you know, different types of plants. And then succulents are not cactus. This is a cactus garden, and usually you can tell the cactuses from the succulents because they have a lot of little picky things on it. So if you're going to pot these up or repot them, you need to be careful and wear gloves because these are very, very picky. And these need less water than the succulent garden. So you may only water these, you know, once every month and a half or 2 months, depending on how warm your house is or on that. You know, because remember, cactus grow in the desert. So how often does it rain in the desert? So you don't need a lot of water with them. But again, you know, when you're doing, if you're getting something, you know, you get something that's interesting, so you have a couple different varieties. I always, like I said, you know, I have plants in my kitchen. I enjoy it, so when I'm cooking and I'm not a great cook, I can look at my plants and my flowers, which I enjoy. So that's a different type of garden. And then one that you can have fun with, and I noticed that, you know, there's a lot of different little furniture type things coming out, and you can look in the craft stores, you can look in the dollar store. Dollar store is one of my favorite stores to poke around in. And this garden is called a fairy garden, which, as you can see, it's different from our regular dish garden. What they use is a lot of short and low growing type of plants. So, you know, this is a little Boston fern, this is a polka dot plant, this is a small philodendron, these are baby tears. I don't quite know what this one is, but then again, you know, you can put a little walkway in. Here's your little fairy. You know, something to do with the kids. Have fun, get them involved with plants at a young age, so they understand how to grow some plants, and, you know, maybe get involved with, you know, growing their own food. But I mean, there's a lot of little things. You can be very creative. I know there's a ton of ideas on the internet, but this is called a fairy garden. So we talked about 4 different kinds. This is our regular dish garden. These are just regular foliage plants that are planted in an arrangement type form. These are extremely popular. We sell a lot of these. The fairy garden is getting to be popular. Again, something to do with the kids, grandkids. Have fun with it, you know, go out and take a look. You know, there's Michael's and Hobby Lobby, the dollar store, things on the internet. You can find a lot of different things, you know, and go to the greenhouses and take a look and see what they have for plants. As far as that goes, they, you know, usually it will have a nice selection on something a little bit different you'll find from the supermarket. And, you know, and again, you know, a cactus garden, so that when you're looking for different things to have in your home, you can have some different types of arrangements. I'm not into artificial plants. I know they have their purpose, but me personally, I like the real plants. So that's some of the things that we can do while we're staying inside. Some of the things that also we can do is sometimes you'll get arrangements that have curly willow in it. And these are some bunches of curly willow that we like to use. You know, and when you're putting it in a large arrangement, it gives it a little bit more interest, you know, something to look at. But as the arrangement may pass, or the flowers may fade, you can take the curly willow and put it in, which I've done, and I'm going to plant them outside. Just put them in water and they'll start to root. And then once it's warm enough, because you certainly can't do it now because they'll freeze, but right around the end of April, I'm planning on planting these outside, and you can have your own curly willow tree, because we pay for branches. You know, it's kind of like greens. We don't get that for free. So, you know, that's another little thing you can look forward to do is, you know, start your own little curly willow trees, plant them outside. They do like water, so I would suggest that you plant them in a moister part of your yard, and, you know, maybe something that isn't full sun, but, you know, gets a good amount of light and might get a little bit of shade. So that's another little project that you can do. I also want to talk about African violets. These are some African violets I've had in my store. As you can see, this one isn't blooming anymore. This one has a few blooms, and we have some buds coming. You know, this was actually the first plant that I got involved in. I had used a different type of African violets, different fertilizer. My dad helped me for a science project at St. Mary's. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade. And since then, I've always loved African violets. You know, and if I see them out and about and they have some nice flowers on them, I usually will pick them up. But if you can see, you know, sometimes people say, you know, mine's not flowering anymore. What do I do? Move it to a different window. Once you find the right window, this should bloom about 10 months out of the year. So just move it. And also don't water it with cold water, because if you use cold water, it will spot the leaves. So I suggest that you use warm water. This does need more water than we were talking about the succulents. So watch the amount of water it gets. But if they're not blooming, change the window. I know I've done it myself. I am like, oh my God, my African violets aren't blooming. So if you change the window and find the right window, you should have some nice results with it. It's one of the only house plants. Everybody always asks me, what's a house plant that's going to continually flower? This is one of the only plants that will continually flower in your home. Most of the flowering plants have a lifespan, and then that's it. Orchids do very well. You can pretty much get those to bloom again too. But African violets, you know, a wonderful house plant. They come in a wide variety of colors. Once you start, you can, you know, start collecting them. Is a nice plant to have. And then this is our Swedish ivy. We started this back, I think, one of our first videos. We took some cuttings off the plant. We snipped it. I put this in water so we have some roots. So I think it's time to repot it. And so when you repot a plant, the best thing to do is just repot it one size up. You don't want to pot it in a size like that. You want to repot it just one size up. We're going to knock the plant out of the clay pot. As you can see, it comes out pretty good. It does need some water. I do have some soil in the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit more. And you know, you want to be just under the pot. You know, you want about 1/4 of an inch or so, like that, so that when you go to water it, the water doesn't spill out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, because these rooted too, so we get a bigger Swedish ivy, I'm going to add the ones we rooted from the ones I cut off. And then I'm just going to add soil around it. And of course, this is why we're doing this one kind of the last, because it makes a mess. I'm going to add some soil around. And then as you're doing it, you want to press the soil in. You want to poke it around. And then I always, after I repot, I always tap it to make sure there's no air pockets in there. Now this certainly needs some water. I'm poking that in. I have my little spray bottle here. I'm going to add some water to it. And I make sure that it's nicely watered. So that's our little Swedish ivy.
Good morning.
So,
How are you?
so I'm going to clean up the soil. We watered it. We'll check it out next video. I'm going to do something for Easter, or if you don't celebrate Easter, you know, something for your holiday or something just for spring. It doesn't have to just be for Easter. So that's some of the things that we're going to be doing. Clip that off a little bit. And so there's our Swedish ivy. We'll check that out next month, see how well that's working. These were some cuttings that we took off some geraniums from last year. It's getting to be geranium season again. So these little guys, oh, yep, are starting to grow. I love the smell of geranium. When I smell those, I know spring's on its way. So geraniums too are another one of my favorite plants. Well, I have a lot of favorite ones. And here's our spider plant. We've been watching this grow since we started. And again, if you get a few leaves that are brown, which is not, you know, people always call me up, I have some brown leaves. You get a few, just cut them off. I mean, they, you know, they're used to growing outside. You know, most of these things come from the rainforest. And so we just cut them off. We watered that. Well, we need to change the pot. But that one's coming along pretty good too. So those are our plant things. Usually try to clean up a little bit. It's that, move it out. Again, some things for the toolbox. Some, you know, the wire cutters are great. These little clippers are great, little bunch clippers. I use a knife, you know, but you can use scissors, just watch it. You can, and then clippers too. So these are, you know, I would say to use something like this if you're not using a knife. Sometimes the scissors, when you clip it, will cut the stems and pinch them so they don't take the water up. But you know, these are some good things for your toolbox. I don't know if we talked about it last time, but of course, as I said, I'm not a good cook. So I took my frying pan and made it into a glue pan. So this is great if you're doing a lot of crafts. You know, we're starting to see dried flowers coming back again. You know, if you're going to use silk flowers, you know, make some wreaths and things like that. It's great because all you do is heat the glue and dip it in and then just glue it. So it makes those projects a lot faster. So even if you get a small one or use a frying pan that you don't use for cooking anymore, and make it into a glue pan, a great addition to your toolbox as far as that goes. And then of course, here's the glue gun. You know, I'll use these on occasion if I'm doing a small project, but just be careful. Some of them are very hot, and they do burn your fingers. So you may want to look for a low temperature type of glue gun. But all these things are great additions for your toolbox. Like I said, I'm always looking for different things to use. And then just a little technique, because spring is coming, a lot of lilies will be out, whether you're going to be using lilies for Easter or your spring holidays, or just, you know, lilies in general. Some people don't like lilies. This happens to be a stargazer lily. And with the lilies, you got to be careful because they're very, very fragrant. I know they will affect my allergies and my eyes will swell up. So I got to be careful how many lilies I do. But when I'm using lilies, I take the pollen off so it won't stain your tablecloth. Also watch the new ones coming out. I do suggest you take it off. But if you get pollen on your lilies, don't take your fingers and try to wipe it off, because what will happen, it will stain the flowers. So what we use is pipe cleaners, and it's kind of like the little legs on the bees. What we do is we just gently wipe the pollen off. So as you can see, you don't see any more of the pollen. And again, this is something that will stain your tablecloth. You know, I don't want to stain your antique tablecloth or your clothes or something like that. So most of the time we have to clean the lilies, and then, you know, when the Easter holiday does come around, we're using a lot of the white lilies because that's the traditional flower for Easter. We are cleaning them so that they stay nice and white and they don't get stained from the pollen. So just a little trick of the trade. We try to do a few things each month. We'll be back shortly in a week or so with flowers for Easter. And again, like I said, that can be used for your table. And if you don't celebrate the holiday, you can use it for whatever holiday you do celebrate. You can celebrate spring, and you can just have some nice flowers on the table. I mean, I always enjoy looking at flowers. So it, you know, at times too, it doesn't even have to be a holiday as far as it goes. So that's, you know, it's kind of the tips that we've been doing. And again, just to kind of summarize what we've done today, clean my table off, you know, my hands are a little bit dirty, sorry. We're just gonna recap. Here's my arrangement. Here's the St. Patrick's Day arrangement. And again, you can add different things to this. You could put some Brussels sprouts on sticks if you wanted, or something else, or use some other green flowers. But you know, we wanted to do something fun. We put cabbage, we put the roses in there, we made it into a triangle. That's what we wanted to do. And then at the end, we just did a few things with some steel grass, and the greens that we used was the myrtle, and the myrtle has a nice little fragrance to it. So if you have allergies, be careful about some of the things that you do use, because some of the things can cause allergic reactions. I mean, I know, like I said, with the lilies coming out, I mean, they will affect my eyes. And then also, I know we're all washing our hands, which is good, you know, for the coronavirus. But after you do arranging, you should wash your hands, just because the flowers are coming from different countries. We don't know how they're being grown. So, you know, I encourage you to wash your hands after you do an arrangement. So if you go touch your eyes or touch your face or something like that, you won't get itchy. So that's, you know, our St. Patrick's Day. And then of course with St. Patrick's Day, it's plants. You know, enjoy your plants. Like I said, this is our dish garden, our green plants. Got a big assortment in there. When you water them, again, make sure you water all the way around and not just do one little spot in the corner. You want all the plants. They're all, you know, there's about 6-7 different plants in here. You're going to make sure they get watered. So watch your watering as far as it goes. Have some fun with the succulents. Extremely popular now, and they're low maintenance. So if you want to start with a plant in your home, I would suggest that you start with some of the succulents, because they don't require a lot of water. And then, you know, be careful picking these up. Cactus gardens, they're fun. They don't need a lot of water too. So I mean, so that's something easy for you that you can have in your desk and things like that. So those are some of the things. And then lastly is the fairy garden. Have fun with it. I mean, you know, I know everybody's complaining about staying in, but there's a lot of things you can do. Get the little small, slow growing plants, add a little fairy, you know, a little bridge, something, you know, you can find some stuff. Like I said, it's not expensive. You can go to the dollar store, look in their craft section. They have a lot of great things there. They rotate each month, so you never know what you're going to get there. So I encourage you, if you don't find it this month, go back another day and see how that goes. So those are some, you know, some fun things. Again, if your African violet isn't in bloom, make sure you water it with warm water, and then move it to a different window and let's see if it's going to bloom. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I have another one there. We're going to try it out and just see if we can get it blooming for the next couple weeks, so when we do our next video. So there's a lot of little things you can do. You can have fun. Plants, flowers and stuff, they lift our spirits up. Hopefully we're at the end of all this stuff. We're starting to see the light, so hopefully that all works. So I do want to say thank you to Sandy Beek-Mikulek that's helping me with the videography. We're kind of amateurs here. We're kind of learning as we're going, so we're working on all that type of thing. We're trying to have some fun with it and just give you some tips and ideas for you to work at your house. Stay safe, have fun till we can see you again at the senior center. So I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you.